first saw Pidgeon at Cafe du Nord. They were playing with Shonda, and I had no idea what to expect. And when I saw them, I was completely blown out of the water and fell immediately in love. And I remember seeing Micah and Val from a distance and feeling like they were complete rock stars. I asked a question in the interview that I had to cut out. The question was, what two people would you have to dinner if you could have any two people to dinner? And Nick's answer was very good. Even though I had to cut it out of the video, I'm going to show it to you now just so you get more of a feel of his character.
Aleister Crowley would be one, just because he's just such an interesting person. You know, he was into black magic, he was a hardcore drug addict. You know, he had like all these cults, but he really believed in what he was preaching, which is do what thou wilt is the whole of the law, meaning whatever you want to do is fine with him. I'd really love to meet Bob Dylan. And I'm not like a huge fan of Bob Dylan's music, but his lyrics and just like his message are just amazing to me.
I asked a question in the interviews that I wasn't able to use either, and the question was, what band inspires you the most? And I felt like Alexi's answer really captured him as a person and kind of the struggles he's gone through.
Well, I have to make this clear that I grew up with parents who came from different sides of the world. My dad came from, you know, the Middle East area, and my mom came from Central America. So I grew up listening to salsa and Arabic music. But the first band I can really remember that had a big influence in me was System of a Down. And I found out the singer came from Lebanon, where my dad was raised or grew up a little bit from. And it kind of culturally, it brought me close to the band before I can even listen to the rest of their songs, because I knew he came from at least the singer and maybe another member, I can't remember, came from an area that my dad came from.
Micah ended up speaking for Val because he's a big fan of hers, and ended up just spewing all this like gushing information about her, because when you meet somebody who is so quiet, usually you don't know what's behind there, and when I found that out, it was just a really sweet surprise. But then I totally understood it. Then it was obvious, you know, obviously.
I don't really listen to music that much, not rock music anyway, but Stephen Sondheim, who writes musicals, I've never had so much emotion and so much power come out of music at me before than I had when I started listening to Sweeney Todd. There are periods in my life that were just like consumed by literature, and it kind of affected everything, but I'm just not sure how exactly. There is a sonata in Swan's Way by Proust that like encompasses this romance, essentially. If I could have a piece of music that would mean that much to me, and every time I heard it would conjure up this like intensity of feeling of being in love and being tortured and just every aspect of a relationship, that would be like amazing.
Friends I have friends that I would consider geniuses in my life, and I have just a couple of them because it's pretty rare, right? But I would have to say Micah is one of them. He can appreciate the beauty in everything, and I think that that's what a pure genius is. I found Micah to be such an interesting character that everything he said during my interviews with him was amazing. But of course I had to cut a lot of it out. So here are some segments for you to see what kind of person he is.
I just don't feel attached to my physical being, you know what I mean? I mean, everybody sometimes like they'll feel fat or they'll feel ugly and they don't like their body or whatever. Everyone has that, you know what I mean? But I don't like the idea of having a body. Like I don't really care for the process of eating. I like sushi, you know, but like I don't like the idea of like the bolus in your throat and the chewing, and it's so gross, and like going to the bathroom, it's like disgusting, and all these things that you have to do to be alive and have a body. I just don't really like any of them. It's like, it's also disgusting. And like even like, I mean, sex weirds me out sometimes. Like sometimes I really like it. And when I was younger, I wasn't like this. Like I loved it. Like it was the best thing, you know. But then like these like traumatic emotional associations with it, and now it's like sometimes it's like something that I like my brain doesn't even want to think about it, let alone like do it, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's great and I feel like a normal person and I have all the normal drives of someone my age, you know what I mean? And it's there, it's just like buried beneath layers and layers of neurosis and bad memories and just like, you know, I don't know, I mean happiness is relative, you know, like I may have used this very example with you before, but like if you were sitting in a cauldron on a fire surrounded by crazy man-eating banshees, and then somebody came along and pulled you out of that fire and threw you into a nice cold pile of horse shit, you'd be pretty happy.
Yeah.
But if you were walking down the street and you fell into a nice cold pile of horse shit, you wouldn't be very happy.